Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova, everybody. And tech folks, you can go ahead and take our slide down so we can welcome one another. I welcomed some of you earlier, and now I want to welcome everybody who has joined us. I'm Rabbi Bridget Wynn, and our musician Joel Siegel is on my screen. I don't know if you can see him, but he's waving, and he's got a big microphone. So you can definitely tell who he is. And I'm so glad to have you here with us for our Rosh Hashanah and also Shabbat morning service. Just want to say a few things. One is, if it's possible for you to have your video on so we can see you, please keep it on, because it's lovely to see folks, and it really helps me feel like we're all actually here in this big tent together. It's a big virtual tent. If you need to turn your video off, that's okay. Feel free to take a break anytime you need. And the last thing I want to say is that this is all new. I mean, it's not quite as new for us now as it was last night, but it's still pretty new. So we're probably going to have some mix-ups, and don't worry about it. We're not going to worry about it. What's really important is that we're here, and it's kind of a reminder actually of what really matters and what doesn't. And what matters is we're here to connect and celebrate and gather hope and strength through the new year. So with that, the last thing I want to say is, if you have any problems, technical problems, we have two hosts on here who are dealing with technical problems, Christine and Katrina. And if you can find the chat box or chat words, just click on chat and you can ask if you need some help. So with that, let's sing together. And we're ready to have our Hine Matov page up. And we're going to be singing along with Joel Siegel, Scott Williams, Sarah Williams, and Cheryl Cleary. We have 4 people who are leading us in this so that we can feel less alone and really join in with some folks in our tent. So I'm going to ask you to mute yourselves, but then please join in.
Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
And we can take the words down. How good and lovely it is for us to be here together. Hine ma tov umanayim. And time to offer one another a bit more personal greetings And so we are going to share a few ways you can say Happy New Year, and then we're going to go into small groups for just a few minutes to greet one another. So I'm going to start out with the ones that I can share, and those are Shana Tova, which is Hebrew. So we can all say to each other, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Tova.
And then we've got Yiddish, Good Yontif, which means a good holiday. Good Yontif, everybody.
Good Yantiv.
Yantiv.
And then I think everybody here knows how to say Happy New Year. And then I'm going to invite a few folks who can share with us some other languages that they speak so we can expand our Happy New Year greeting abilities just a little bit. And first, we've got Michelle, who's going to greet us in Spanish.
Feliz Año Nuevo!
Feliz Año Nuevo, Michelle. And we are going to ask Catherine to greet us in French.
Bonne année.
Bonne année, Catherine. And then the last one is going to be probably familiar to fewer of us. So I'm going to ask Dave to greet us in Japanese and to do it slowly twice.
Akimashita omedetou gozaimasu.
Akimashita
Omedetou gozaimasu.
gozaimasu.
Gozaimasu. Now you can say it normal speed.
Omedetou gozaimasu.
Thank you, Dave. And now, if we were together in our real life tent, we would find somebody near us we don't know and say Happy New Year however we want and just introduce ourselves. But we're going to do something different, but also a real way to connect right this moment. And that is our hosts, our tech hosts are going to send us into breakout groups. So when your screen changes, don't worry, you haven't like disappeared into the ether. If possible, please turn on your video so folks can see you. And when you get into your breakout group, please unmute yourself. And we're just going to say hi, say Happy New Year, however we like. Say what made us decide to come here this morning or anything you feel like saying to connect with others. We're going to have 5 minutes. And there's a timer at the top of the screen that lets you know how close we are to 5 minutes. And then we're all going to come back. So I will see everybody here in 5 minutes, and I'll see a few of you in a breakout group in just a moment.
Pretty cool.
Hey there, if you weren't taken automatically to the breakout room, you might need to click the button on your screen that says breakout rooms, or maybe it says more at the bottom of your screen. There's 3 dots. And it says more. If you click on that, you'll see breakout rooms, and then you can join the breakout room.
So Christine, I think I'm not going to upload the PowerPoint presentation because
That's fine.
yeah, I'm just worried task switching and trying to upload a bunch of stuff is
Totally get it, yeah.
But
I
for
was just trying to troubleshoot. Maybe for the Yom Kippur services, we should put that in Drive just as a like backup.
yeah, Bridget has it. She doesn't have the one with the video. I actually was struggling to save it because the files are so big.
Thanks.
So yeah, that was a fun this morning when I had to rebuild the presentation with the videos in it.
Oof.
It wasn't too bad. It was just surprising that it didn't save properly. But yeah, for Yom Kippur, we'll definitely get that all loaded up better.
What was the sense when the three of you were talking last night? Like, I think it went fairly well.
Yeah, they all thought went well, and they felt it, felt like a good version of all of us being in the tent like last time or last year, the years before. So I think there was, everyone liked it. The visiting the households, I think they liked a lot, which makes sense. That feels like a good feeling.
Welcome to folks who just joined us. I'm going to put you into some breakout rooms so that you can wish some folks a Happy New Year. Say good morning.
So you muted me when I was playing the thing, and I've been struggling to figure out if I actually.
Oh, shoot. So sorry, I didn't realize you were playing a pre-recorded thing.
That's okay. It worked though.
Didn't affect it, yeah.
But so now I'm like so confused about when it needs to be muted or not, because it seems to not be consistent at all, because I'm using the same program to play all of the songs.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's not consistent too. Like, I used to think you had to be unmuted, but then the last several times I've done it, I can mute myself and play sound. So I honestly don't know what it is that makes it so, but.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out, I was like, I have a speaker that I can mute from the speaker level, right? The Yeti microphone. So I was debating if I could do that, because my keyboard is very clacky. So I can't.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the moment of like, oh, I should not touch my computer. Because it'll just
Yeah, definitely.
clack, clack, clack.
We have about 50 seconds before they are offered the option to come back, and then 30 seconds after that, they'll be automatically brought back.
Perfect.
I think after a certain point, people stayed muted last night, but there was this one moment where I don't know who it was, but they kept unmuting themselves, and like I'd mute them, and then they'd unmute themselves right back, and
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god.
Marilyn on the iPad.
Say that again.
It was someone named Marilyn on the iPad, and it was just I saw that happening. Mute, unmute, mute, unmute, and I also muted her sometimes as well. Wait, waiting room?
I think people might have accidentally left the meeting instead of leaving their breakout room.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. They're coming back now anyway.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Welcome back, everybody. We're gonna have the whole group back in just a couple of seconds, about
Including
15
me.
seconds.
I just hit the leave meeting button instead of the leave breakout room button.
Oops.
I noticed a little bit of an audio issue. I just want to check in on that. I was hoping to get back to the meeting room sooner. When the recording came on, I was hearing some crackling in my audio, which sounds to me like something being overdriven, but it may have just been me.
It might have been, I had my volume up because I have it up for the videos later.
Okay.
So I might turn it down for those recordings and then turn it back up for the videos.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, and for what it's worth, Joel, it actually sounded beautiful through our stuff here. I didn't notice any crackling.
Okay, thank
Same
you.
here.
Thank you for the breakout. It's a wonderful opportunity to spend some time with people more intimately.
Yeah,
Amen.
isn't that fun? And I see some folks who I didn't see earlier, so I want to welcome you. I can't welcome everybody because it's just, I can't find everybody, but Beth, Shabbat Shalom, Ellen, Paul, Laurel, Frida, welcome, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to you, Rabbi Bridget.
Jessica, Dorothy, Susan, Ralph, Terry, and Bill. And I will try and catch some more folks later. Steve, Fainaru, Nancy Brenner, welcome. Daniel and partner, welcome. And like I said, I'll catch a few of you later. And right now, we are going to sing together a song about joining here in this holy place, here in our virtual tent. Camille, welcome.
Hi.
Hello there. So we're ready for our next slide, and let's join together.
And that on that third line, you see the word ohalecha. That word means your tent. So that's why we sing it. It's actually customary. It's the words of a non-Jewish prophet to sing the people of Israel in the book of Numbers. And we say it when we enter our tent of worship, wherever we are. Matovu, it's the morning. Matovu, bless us this morning. Oh, Halecha, let us enter. Yaakov, our heritage. Mishkanotecha, we are searching. Will you show us Yisrael? We are Yisrael. Born to sing your praises in your holy, holy spaces. Matovu, bless the morning. Matovu, Matovu, it's the morning. Matovu, bless us this morning. Oh, Halecha, let us enter. Yaakov, our heritage. Mishkanotecha, we are searching. Will you show us Yisrael? We are Yisrael, born to sing your praises in your holy, holy spaces. Matovu, bless the morning. Matovu, born to sing your praises in your holy, holy spaces. Matovu, bless the morning. Matovu.
I hear crackling, by the way.
Okay. Thank you.
There was crackling.
I'm going to try to take my mic level down. Let me know next time we're up whether you still hear it.
Still crackling.
Still, huh? Okay. I'm
So
stumped
here
then.
we are in our virtual tent. You can see a picture of our tent that we were in last year, and hopefully we will be in together next year. And we're ready for our next page. And we're now going to be singing two songs that bring us to the themes of the high holidays. Return again, return to our best selves, return to the people we want to connect with, return again to the land of our souls, and then Hashivenu, help us to return. And this theme, the word for it all is tshuva, and that can mean to turn, to direct ourselves in the way that we really mean to live, to return, and I gave some examples of that. And the word tshuva also means to respond. So to make choices about how we respond to life. And all of this being an annual wake-up call, here we are, this is our lives. How are we choosing to live? So we're going to join together with Joel and Sarah and Scott and Cheryl, Return Again and Hashivenu.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn. born again, return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai, Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva. Kadesh, Kadesh, Yareinu Kekedem. Hashirenu, Hashirenu, Adonai, Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva. Kadesh, Kadesh, Yareinu Kekedem. Hashirenu, Hashirenu, Adonai, Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva. Kadesh, Kadesh, Yareinu Kekedem. Kadesh, Kadesh, Yareinu Kekedem.
Now we can take that slide down and see one another. And I'm going to remind people of the High Holiday Melody, a melody we hear every year in a few variations. And Joel is going to lead us to help us connect with that melody, just sung wordlessly.
And we'll keep fiddling with audio until it's better. The recording, to me, sounded better that time with the lower levels. Let's see how we're doing on my end. What did I do last night? Was it long to short? I went short to long last night. I'll go long to short this morning. So here's one of the longer versions. Lie, 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 ya la 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 la, lie, 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 ya la la la, ya ya la 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 la, lie, 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 lie. And one major change that can sometimes happen is right at the beginning, instead of doing la 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 la, we sing la 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 la, and then you can go on with the whole thing. And we take different pieces of that depending on the length of the text that that we're singing. And just
breathing again in California.
Are we breathing again in California? We have had, until this morning, a few blessed days of clean air. I haven't looked at what the numbers are this morning, but I did hear on the radio when my alarm went off that it's a little smokier today. But we're breathing easier than we were way back, and let's pray for the folks in Portland who are really have been struggling for days and days and weeks now.
Joel, are you done with the high holiday melodies you wanted to lead us in?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to ask our tech folks to take us to the Baruch Hu. We have an introduction here, a kavanah or intention, and then we have the Baruch Hu prayer, and that is our calling out, Joel and I, the service leaders, to make sure everyone is ready if you were not already. And we're saying, bless the infinite one. And then you are calling back to us, blessed is the infinite one. And normally we rise for this, but if you want to rise, feel free. I am not going to. It would be much too complicated. And as Joel said to us last night, we can rise in body or in spirit.
Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. And together we sing, Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Leolam Vaed.
We come now to our next slide, Open Up My Eyes. And this is a prelude to the Shema. The Shema asks us to listen. This song and prayer asks us to look. And all of it is about connecting with the oneness in our world. It can feel very much like everybody and everything is divided. And that may be true on the surface often, but underneath it, there is a oneness, and it's our job to perceive that and try to bring it more into the world.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Next slide. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
We're coming now to our silent prayer or Amidah. We're going to take several minutes for you to offer your prayers, or I'm going to share a few options. You might want to read the prayer that is here in our prayer book. You might want to offer your own silent prayers, as I mentioned. I also suggested to people to bring something to write with. And if you would like to, this could also be a good time to just ask yourself the question, who do I want to be in this new year? And jot down some notes. So any of those ways, or if there's another way that you'd like to spend this time focusing on your prayers, our prayers for who we want to be in this new year. And if it helps you to turn off your video, feel free to do that. And we'll be back together in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Ose Shalom Vimroma Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu. And we're ready for our next slide. Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru Amen. It's a tune from Per community in Jerusalem by the name of Nava Tehillah. The means praise, fitting is praise. Ose Shalom Bimroma Uyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru Oh, Hoseh, Shalom Bimroma, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oh, Hoseh Shalom Bimroma, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen.
And we can go ahead and take down the slide. Yeah, that's fine. We can have the next one ready there. So we are about to join together in Avinu Malkeinu, singing together in Hebrew and then in English. And this is reminding us of the ways, again, that we would like to change in the new year, asking for compassion and mercy and peace as we do that. And I want to mention to you a way that we'll be carrying out one of our traditions. Each year, I invite people to write down any regrets they have from the past year, and the idea being partly to get those out and partly to help get clear on the ways you want to change. And usually we post those, we write them so they're anonymous, and we post them on a big wall called the Torah of Life, Torat Chaim. And that way we can look and see that we're not alone, and maybe be reminded of some of the things we did do or we didn't do. And what we're going to do this year is we are going to have a virtual wall. And so I will be sending folks a link, and you can go online and you can write your regrets up totally anonymously. And then we can look at it and learn from each other. And as I said, feel less alone. So that's something that will happen between now and Yom Kippur, and also be available on Yom Kippur. And now we'll move into Avinu Malkeinu. And after that, another song or prayer called Adonai, Adonai, and it's words from our Torah describing God's self and the compassion that is waiting for us as we try to make tshuva in the new year.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vaneinu, Yen Banu Masim, Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Our Mother and Father of life, please hear us and give us our grace. Our guide deep within us, oh hear us and give us compassion and mercy and peace. Oh guide us through your grace, justice and mercy to all. Oh guide us and teach us, grant justice and mercy, we shall be free once again. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. And on our next slide, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Noser Chesed La'alafim, Nose Avon V'Fesha, V'Hatta'a V'Nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, compassion and tenderness, patience, forbearance, kindness, awareness, bearing love from age to age, lifting guilt and mistakes, and making us free.
We come now to our Torah service, and we're going to lift the Torah. Just lift it up, not lift it up high, but just raise it up so you can see and greet our Torah. And then we are going to join together in the Torah blessing. Anybody who would like to is welcome to offer the blessing before the Torah reading, and then I'll read from the Torah. And when it's time for the blessing, you'll see that on the screen, so you're welcome to join in. I'm going to take out our Torah. This here, this talit, this prayer shawl, is our ark. And I'm going to lift it up so you can say hello to it. Okay. So there's our Torah. It's a small one, and I'm going to put it back down now and get it ready for reading. So now I'm going to open it up and make sure that I'm in the right place before we start our blessing. And just move a little bit. There we are. So I'm going to take my talit and touch it to where we're going to start and connect to the Torah on all of your behalves and roll it up and cover it, and let's offer our blessing before the Torah reading, all who would like to join in. I'll go ahead and lead. I'll chant the first line, and then I will lead you in the rest of it. So let's join in together. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Together. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. And now, if you want to join me as one of the participants in this blessing, please do. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. I'm going to say a few words before I start reading from the Torah, and I'm going to read in Hebrew and then translate it into English as I go. This is a story about Abraham and his son Isaac and a trial they went through together, and by that I mean a challenge, a crisis. And I want you to pay attention to a couple of things, but before I tell you what they are, first, I want to invite you, for everybody who has something there to write with and has some paper, it was something I suggested you might have ready for services, or if you want to get it, what I want to invite you to do is jot down any questions or thoughts you have as I'm reading, because then we're going to get to talk about the Torah portion and some of what it might have to say to us afterwards. And I'd love you to hang on to your questions and thoughts for that discussion. So as I said, this is a father and a son going through a crisis, and a couple things I want you to pay attention to. One is we're going to hear a word that we don't hear very often in the Torah, a very meaningful word, hineni, and that means here I am. Not just as in, well, I'm standing here, but as in I am present, I'm fully here to pay attention, I'm ready. So listen for those hinanis and the different situations they come up in. And then the other thing I want you to pay attention to is Abraham is going to have God speak to him. And he's going to do what God said, but then it's going to change and God is going to want something different from him. And please see what your thoughts are about whether Abraham is hearing a change that might have been there all along, or God changed God's mind, or why does this story get up to a very scary point and then change to something really different? And we're going to be connecting the story some to some of the challenges we're facing today. How we can be present, how we can be there ready to say, Hineni, I'm here, I'm ready, and how we can listen to and look for the different ways we might respond in the situation, which might change or need to change so that we're really responding from our highest values. Amen. ויהי אחר הדברים האלה, והאלוהים נישא את אברהם, ויאמר אליו, אברהם, ויאמר הנני. After some other things had happened, God tested Abraham, and God said to him, Abraham, and Abraham said, Hineni, I am present. ויאמר, קח נא את בנך את יחידך אשר אהבת את יצחק ולך לך אל ארץ המוריה. And God said to Abraham, take your son and your only son who you love, Isaac, and take him up to a land that I will show you, land of Moriah. והעלהו שם לעולה על אחד ההרים אשר אמר אליך. And take him up as an offering on one of the hills that I will point out to you. וישכם אברהם בבוקר, ויחבוש את חמורו, ויקח את שני נעריו איתו, ואת יצחק בנו. So Abraham got up early in the morning, and he took his donkey with him, and he took with him 2 of his servants, and he took with him Isaac, his son. ויבקע עצי עולה, ויקום וילך אל המקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים. And he took the wood, and he got up and went to the place that God had told him about. ביום השלישי וישא אברהם את עיניו, וירא את המקום מרחוק. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and he saw the place from afar. ויאמר אברהם אל נעריו, שבו לכם פה עם החמור, ואני והנער נלכה עכו ונשתחווה ונשובה עליכם. And Abraham said to his servants, you stay here with the donkey, and the boy and I will go up and we'll bow down, we will worship, and we will return to you. ויקח אברהם את עצי העולה, וישם על יצחק בנו. So Abraham took the wood for the offering and he placed it on his son Isaac. ויקח בידו את האש ואת המאכלת, and he took the fire and the knife. וילכו שניהם יחדיו, and the 2 of them walked on together. ויאמר יצחק אל אברהם אביו, ויאמר אבי. And Isaac said to his father, Abraham, my father. ויאמר הנני בני. And Abraham said, I am present, my son. ויאמר הנה האש והעצים, ואיה הסה לעולה. And he said, here is the fire and the wood. Where is the sheep for the offering? ויאמר אברהם, Elohim yireh lo haseh le'olah bani. And Abraham said, God will show us the sheep for the offering, my son. Vayelchu shnehem yachdav. And the 2 of them walked on together. Vayavo'u el hamakom asher amar lo ha'elohim. And they came to the place that God had told them about. Vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach. And Abraham built an altar there. Vaya'aroch et ha'etzim, vaya'akod Yitzchak bano. And he laid out the wood and he bound his son Isaac. Vayasem oto el hamizbeach mima'al la'etzim. And he put Isaac on the altar on top of the wood. Vaishlach Avraham et yadav vayikach et hama'achelet lishchot et bano. Abraham took the knife and he reached out his hand to slaughter his son. Vayikra elav malach Adonai min hashamayim. And a messenger of God called out from the sky. Vayomer, Avraham, Avraham. And the messenger said, Abraham, Abraham. Vayomer, Hineni. And Abraham said, I am present. Vayomer, al tishlach yadcha el hana'ar vel al ta'as lo me'uma. And the messenger said, do not stretch out your hand towards the boy and don't do anything to him. Keta yadati ki yireh Elohim ata. For now I know that you hold God in awe. Velo hashachta et bincha et yechidcha mimeni. And you have not withheld your son, your only one, from me. Vaysa Avraham et enav vayar hine ayel achar ne'echaz beschach. And Abraham looked up, and look, there was a ram caught by its horns in the bush. Bekarnav. Vayelech Avraham vayikach et ha'ayel vaye'alehu la'olah tachat bano. Abraham got the ram and offered him instead of his son. Vayikra Avraham Shem hamakom hahu Adonai yireh asher ye'amar hayom behar Adonai yireh. And Abraham called the place God is seen, and it is called today God is seen. Vayikra malach Adonai el Avraham shenit min hashamayim. And the messenger of God called out to Abraham again from the sky. Vayomer bi nishbati ne'um Adonai. I swear, by God swears. Yes, God swears. Miya'an ki ya'an asher asita et hadvar hazeh velo hashachta et bincha et yechidcha. Because you did this thing and you did not withhold your son, your only one. Ki varech avarechacha veharbe arbe et zarecha kechochavei hashamayim vechachol asher asfat hayam. I will bless your descendants, and they will be as many as the stars in the sky and the sand by the sea. Vayirash zarecha et sha'ar oivav. And they will defeat their enemies at the gates. Vehit baruchu b'zarecha kol goyeh haaretz. And all the people of the earth will be blessed through your descendants. Ekev asher shamata b'koli, because you listened to my voice. Vayashav Avraham el na'arav. Abraham went back to his servants. Vayakumu vayelchu el Be'ersheva. And they got up and they went to the town of Beersheba. Vayeshev Avraham b'Beersheba. And Abraham dwelled in Beersheba. And now I'm going to close our Torah. And I'm again going to connect with it on all of our behalf with my prayer shawl. And now we can offer the blessing after our Torah reading. So please join with me if you'd like to. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet B'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
And let's come back together, tech folks. You can take down the slide. So clearly this is a very strange and disturbing story. And some years we talk about, did Abraham flunk the first part of the test by obeying God rather than arguing? Or did Abraham pass the test by trusting that God would not cause anything terrible to happen and letting God lead him to the brink, and then knowing that God would say, no, don't do it? So there's many different ways to see this, and I've just mentioned a couple. And what I want to do this year differently is to focus on just a couple particular parts of the story. We can look at Torah in terms of the broad story. We can look at it in terms of particular words, all different ways. So today I want to focus on the two things I brought up before I read. One of them is the word hineni. And that, as I said, means I'm here, I'm ready, I'm paying attention. One of the things the High Holiday calls on us to do is to try to pay attention more in life, to slow down enough so we can say, here's what's happening, rather than just being reactive. I'm going to think about what are my choices, because there are usually many more choices about how to respond than we realize. So that's one thing I want to look at together. And the other thing I want to look at together is how the situation changed. We might say that Abraham heard something he might not have heard before when the messenger said, don't do anything to the boy. Or we might say that God's perspective changed. And I know this is going to sound a little silly, but that maybe God said, okay, I know all those other gods get child sacrifices, so I wanted that too. But wait a minute, I don't need to act that way. I can respond differently. So I want to open this up with a couple questions for you. And if you have other things you noted, feel free to bring those up as well. I don't know if I'll be able to answer them, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. I will do my best. So what I want to do is invite you, bring up a question or point you noted, or share what helps you be able to say, Hineni, I am present, and expand the possibilities before you react. Or what else gives you the ability to change perspective as you are doing something or asking someone else to do something. So I want to ask you to raise your hand so we can try not to talk over one another, and then share your comment. I will call on you if I see you, and if I don't see you, I'm going to ask our tech folks to call on you because it's hard to keep track of everybody. And I just see a note from one of our tech folks to raise your hand. Click on the Participants tab at the bottom of your screen, and then click on Raise Hand in the tab you will see. So let's see, I want to either see a raising hand waving around in the air, or click on and raise hand using the Participant tab. Anybody have any questions or thoughts?
I see Camille and Jack raising their hands.
Great.
Hi. It's so interesting to hear different things every year. This year I heard, and I'm not quite sure what I heard in it, but I feel some response to Abraham noticed where his destination after 3 days. He had to walk for 3 days. He was present for the entire time. It gave me a sense of time in decision-making process, that, you know, God didn't set this up as do this right now. It was set up as presence. The story starts with him saying, I am Hineni, and yet there's all this time. And circumstances can change, or information can change, and things we notice can change. You know, he noticed the destination along the way. Maybe it gave him time to think, or to be able to see more and take more in. So even if, what I take from that is, even if facts are presented to us, or even an outcome, right now I'm thinking about our loss with our justice, and my fear of what's going to happen. Maybe there's time, and maybe there's presence, and maybe there's information we can put to use.
Thank you, Camille. Very helpful. Who's next? You can wave your hand, or you can click on the.
Let's go with Jack.
Go ahead.
Who was next? I think Jack was next.
Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova.
Thank you. I was struck by another part of the story that was perhaps a little minor part, but it stood out to me. Abraham twice lies in the story. He tells the servants that he's going to come back with Yaakov, and he lies again to his son to say that God will show us the sheep to sacrifice. It doesn't say that he foresaw these things. It says that he just said them, which is strange to me. And yet, by the end of the story, both of these things came to be. God did show him the ram to slaughter, and he did come back with Isaac. Gosh, I'm getting shivers just thinking about this. What does this mean? I don't know quite what to make of it. Does God take lies and turn them into truths? Was it that Abraham foresaw what was going to happen? It didn't read that way to me. So to me, this is a little bit of a thing to ponder and to wonder about. What is the meaning of this? Maybe you can shed some light on it, Rabbi, because I can't see why this would be.
Well, I'll give one answer, and there are, of course, many, many answers. What's occurring to me right now is that maybe Abraham had enough trust in God to believe that this would all work out, because God had said to Abraham, you're going to have many descendants through Isaac. And so then if Isaac was not there, was not going to return with Abraham, that commitment God had made wouldn't come true. So it makes me think about, when can we take an enormous risk because we trust the person or God or whoever is at the other end of that commitment and take a chance? And when do we just say no? In another situation, God wanted to kill some people in a town because they were so cruel and inhospitable. And Abraham said, no, you are supposed to be just, don't do it. So when do we argue? When do we trust and take the next step because we believe that we're in a safe relationship? And clearly that is something, we can all ponder. So that's my thought at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah. Anybody else? Cora? Got to unmute, Cora.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I heard, it was really interesting. I heard it very differently this year. I mean, obviously, it's horrifying, and I think we all understand, even though there wasn't an actual, sacrifice, that the damage, psychological damage, is certain. But what I heard this year is just sort of a metaphor for maybe subverting, our self-interest or the interests of our immediate family for the collective. So for instance, we've, in this time of crisis, I personally feel an instinct to just sort of wall off my family and just keep us safe. And I wonder if this story is saying that to truly show up, to show Hineni, we need to think about not just our little family, but our bigger eternal, you know, cosmic family. And, you know, like just a small example, you know, this idea that we've been reading about, that to truly like be anti-racist, you know, we can't put ourselves first all the time. You know, maybe we need to send our kids to a school that's not as superb so that we can work toward a more just universe in which every child gets a wonderful education. So that's what I heard this year.
Thank you, Cora. And I see that Danita has a comment or a question. Danita, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, what came up for me was actually a quote by Viktor Frankl when he talked about between the movement, between the action and your reaction, you can either react or you can respond, and there's a pause. There's a place in between, which is the pause. And when you step into that pause, you can see things that you don't normally see, and you can respond. And I think that's what was really happening. And I think it's a message that comes through the ages to us.
Yeah, thank you, Danita. Sarah Williams?
Yeah, I think in terms of thinking about how to be present, and one of the questions I think you asked something about how to be something like open to other perspectives or something like that. You asked something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking a lot about as a white person and as an educator, working on really listening to hear rather than listening to respond, and really trying to listen to my students, listen to the families that I work with, listen to others in my community, in order to be able to act in a way that will help heal our society and bring justice, but not necessarily, like, I don't have the answers. So like listening so that I can hear from people whose voices are not heard often.
Thank you, Sarah. Makes sense. Gary?
So for some reason, as I was listening to it, I was thinking, just as we individually and collectively get wiser and smarter, it struck me that in this story that God is also doing the same thing. God's sort of small-minded in the early stories and more controlling and not being as compassionate as it should be. And the Noah flood and the manipulation in the Garden of Eden, and then this story. And I think God's learning how to be better through our actions. And we're like reinforcing each other and sort of helping each other to be a better universe together. And so I was thinking about that Abraham was doing what he thought was right, and God was sort of trying to figure out what it was doing right and how to be a better for us. And that's just sort of popped into my head. It's a sort of Kabbalistic concept.
Yeah.
Based
Well,
on the idea of tikkun.
It's pointing to the fact that we all have a role to play. In other words, what we do does make a difference. We
Right.
may not know how, but it's certainly not like God is controlling everything. We're just along for the ride. Far from it. I mean, that's one reason we need to think about what we're doing, and we need to consider our choices. Oh, I hate to do this. I see all these other hands up. But I guess I'm just I see one more person who already raised her hand earlier, and I'm gonna call on her, and then we're gonna need to move on. But I do have another invitation for you, because I really love to hear people's comments. And that is, we had a study of this Torah portion with a smaller group about a week and a half ago. And this Wednesday, we're going to study together the Torah portion for Yom Kippur, which is a really interesting Torah portion. And I'm going to send out an email to invite folks, anyone who would like to come to a in-depth look at that. I would love to have you. So with that, I'm going to call on Miriam Zamora-Cantor, and then we're going to move on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This question has been bothering me for so long. I'm so happy for the opportunity. Abraham at first didn't have a child, and then he had a child with Hagar. So really his first son was not Isaac, and so he's not his only son.
Right.
So why is he referred to as his only son?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just give you a take. Like I said, there's so many answers to these questions. At that point, I think God was focusing on the line that was going to descend through Abraham and Isaac, and only Isaac could carry forward that line, because Abraham and Hagar had a child named Ishmael, who was metaphorically going to carry on the line that led to Islam. And Isaac was going to carry on the line that led to Judaism. So I think at this point, the story is focusing on Judaism. It begins with the whole earth and everybody, and then it becomes more and more a story of these specific people. So that's one answer. On the other answer, we could, on the other hand, we could just say, hey, that's terrible. You can't love one son more than the other and pretend you don't have any others. So, those are two ways of looking at it. One more positively and one more negatively, and there's everything in between. But I mean, it's all worth thinking about for us as members of families.
Thank you.
If I may, I'll toss out yet another one. So many of these comments, the ancient rabbis were as struck by them and as troubled by them 2,000 years ago as we are. And there's tons of midrash, which is the sort of what the rabbis sometimes call filling in the gaps in the Torah with other stories. Much of what we, in fact, might know from our Bible stories are, in fact, midrashim. If you know the one about Abraham smashing the idols in his father's shop, that's nowhere in the Torah. It's a midrash. And this midrash is an imagined conversation between God and Isaac, because all we're hearing is God's words. So in this midrash, the rabbis imagine God saying, Abraham, Hineni, take your son. I have two sons. Now, Abraham is really, at this point, he's in denial and he's trying to avoid what he kind of knows is coming. Take your son. I have two sons. You're only one. Well, Hagar is the only, Ishmael is the only one from Hagar, and Isaac is the only one from Sarah. Whom you love. I love both of them. Isaac! Right? Sorry, Abraham, you are not getting out of this one. You have to take Isaac up and sacrifice him. So that's yet a third way to look at it.
Thank you, Joel. And now, as we do normally while our Torah is out, we offer a blessing for those in need of healing. So we're going to come to our Misha Beirach blessing. And I want to invite everybody who wants to share the name or names of those you want to pray for healing of body, healing of soul, renewal of spirit, to unmute yourself in just a moment and to just go ahead and share those names. So please go ahead and do that now, and then we will mute and join together in our blessing for healing.
Susan.
Ellen.
United States.
Jessica.
Myself.
World.
Linda Goodman.
Addie.
Rose Hagopian.
Alana. Eileen Seth. Jacob.
Myself.
States
of America.
Zachary. Dennis.
Patrick Chan.
Rona.
Myself.
And Marilyn.
My mother. My mother.
My mother.
The world.
Jennifer Reich.
all those who are ill. Myself.
My father-in-law.
Sandy. Boris.
Let's join together now.
Barbara Weissman.
I think Rabbi Bridget, you got muted along with me when the host muted everybody.
Yeah, I'm sorry I cut off the last person who was speaking. Please go ahead and continue to share names quietly if I didn't give you the time you need. And let's go ahead and join together in this blessing for healing. We all know there's lots of healing needed in this time.
And Jenny.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
And it's time now for us to hear the shofar. So let's see our blessing, which I see up there now. And first we are going to offer the blessing for hearing the shofar. And then we are going to offer the blessing for being grateful to have made it to this moment. We have made it through a very difficult year, and we're here ready to enter the next one. So Joel, please lead us, and Joel's going to be leading us in the High Holiday Melody.
Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu melech haolam sheheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazeman hazeh.
And tech folks, you can take down our blessing screen and put up our shofar service screen. We are going to be hearing the shofar according to each of these calls. Suzanne Chaslow is going to be blowing it for us. And I'm going to point out one thing before we move into the shofar service. Each of these sets of blows begins with tekiah, which is one sound. Then we go into shevarim or truah, which are broken sounds. Then we come to tekiah. So we see here the way that we might start with wholeness, move to brokenness, and then through that go to a new form of wholeness. A cycle that acknowledges that brokenness is not necessarily the end, and there are often other forms of wholeness waiting for us to move towards again. So with that, I am going to call out the shofar blows, and Suzanne is going to do the shofar blowing. So let's all get quiet. Well, actually, I guess we're all quiet anyway, but time to listen. Tekiah. Shevarim Thruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shevarim Thruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shevarim Thruah. Tekiah. Shevarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shevarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shevarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Thruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Thruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Thruah. Tekiah Gadola. Yeshikoach Suzanne, which means right on. What's and I want to comment once more on the shofar. If we are not awake, if we are sleepwalking through our lives, it is supposed to wake us up. I think we're all awake. We are now going to put the Torah away. Time now to put our Torah away. So I'm going to wrap this around it to keep it steady. And put its cover on. Normally I have a couple people helping me do this. And next year, hopefully we will have plenty of people right here with me to help me. Okay, Torah's almost wrapped up again. All right, there we go. And we're going to put it back in its ark. Goodbye, Torah. Let's join together.
It's Chaim Hi Lamachasikim Ba V'tomechea Meushar Derachea Darcheinu V'chol Netivotea Shalom. She is a tree of life, more precious than gold, and all of her pathways are peace. Hold her in her heart, and you will understand it's Chaim Hi. Her roots are deep and wide, her branches filled with light.
We come now to the Aleinu prayer, which, as I said last night, but I'll say again, always comes towards the end of the service. And I think that's really appropriate because this prayer reminds us it's up to us. Aleinu means literally, it's on us. And Gina is going to offer a few words about this prayer and what it means to her. And then she is going to lead us. So when she does, please read along with her. And then Joel is going to lead the musical part. So please join in with him.
Good morning. Shana Tova, everyone. I was asked to share a bit about what speaks to me about this prayer first. And in this version of the Aleinu specifically, I'm struck by what we just spoke about in response to the Torah reading, the lessons of being present and listening and remembering it is not too late to change. I think when we've lost our leaders, when we are stuck in our homes, we can feel unrooted. And I love the idea in this prayer of bending the knee, of acting with humility, and perhaps even getting closer to the earth by this act of bending the knee and getting close to the land we all stand on together, rerouting ourselves as we shake off the fear and the insecurities and the things we don't need going into this next year and embrace the whole of the world. And the other thing I appreciate about it is it doesn't say it is up to me, it says it is up to us. And so being here together with all of you reminds me that we can help each other repair the world and bind our lives to truth. So thank you for being here with me. And this is the Aleinu, it is up to us. It is up to us to hallow creation, to respond to life with the fullness of our lives. It is up to us to meet the world, to embrace the whole, even as we wrestle with its parts. It is up to us to repair the world and to bind our lives to truth. Therefore, we bend the knee and shake off the stiffness that keeps us from the subtle graces of life and the supple gestures of love. With reverence and thanksgiving, we accept our destiny and set for ourselves the task of redemption.
And we're on the next slide. And I have to thank Gina for putting the knee in focus, which was something that I wasn't thinking about until I heard that word from you, Gina. And of course, as might be true for many of you, the image of taking a knee comes to mind for me very strongly. So might we all, in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are black and brown, who have been taking knees now for ever since Colin did it back in 2015, to remind us of what's broken in the world and what we still need to repair. That is literally, we bend the knee and bow, or take a knee if you prefer. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו ושמו אחד.
We can take the slide down now, and Katie is going to make some announcements. Then we are going to sing Shana Tova to one another, hear one more shofar blast, and enjoy our wine or juice and challah. So Katie, you are on.
Shana Tova, Happy New Year, and welcome to everyone. My name is Katie Williams, and I'm an active participant with Jewish Gateways and a volunteer. And it is truly a joy to celebrate together today, especially during these isolating times. So I want to thank Rabbi Bridget Wynn for this morning's absolutely marvelous, inspiring service, and Joel Siegel for the beautiful music and all the coordination that he has done, and Suzanne Chaslow for her beautiful shofar performance. I also want to thank all the volunteers. There were many people who participated in making the service happen, apparently approximately 70 people. And a especially big thank you for the tech staff who are working behind the scenes. Without them, we could not have this virtual event. So I became involved with Jewish Gateways a few years ago, looking for high holiday services, and I think many people start that way. I was pleased to find that I really enjoyed Rabbi Bridget and the services. I was especially looking for services in which my non-Jewish husband and our daughter might be fully accepted and could participate in whatever way that they chose, as well as services that would be meaningful to me. So I especially enjoyed the services and felt them to be meaningful and inclusive. One of the things about Rabbi Bridget is any question is acceptable, and one always gets the feeling that they're welcome. And so then when they began to do classes, I thought I would try to attend some of those. And the other thing about Rabbi Bridget, one of the other things, is that she's an exceptional teacher, very knowledgeable, very approachable, and interesting. So in the last few years, I've enjoyed a variety of classes. I participate in Torah study, made relevant and accessible classes about Jewish thought and tradition. I like attending Friday night Shabbat gatherings, which are now on Zoom, of course, where I could take part in Jewish ritual and share that experience with other people. And Musar, which is a study of Jewish ethics with a personal and internal focus. Musar provided me with growth, self-knowledge, truly a very in-depth learning. And I will continue to participate when the Musar groups resume after the high holidays. So consider that as well. So at Jewish Gateways, I really felt like I found a place for myself to explore my Judaism, to learn more, to participate in my tradition. And I feel that we're becoming a community, and one that is so accepting and really allowing participation at any level that one chooses. And on a personal level, Rabbi Bridget worked with my daughter and son-in-law on Jewish wedding ritual, so they could include Jewish tradition in their multicultural wedding ceremony. And she also provided me a great deal of support and guidance during the time my mother was dying, and then helping me with ritual to honor the memory of my mother and to help us with grieving. So this year, during the COVID pandemic, many Jewish Gateways classes and events have moved online, and some new events have been added. Offerings at Jewish gateways change as a need is identified. I think that this is a particular strength. You know, I've taken Torah classes with Rabbi Bridget on the same Torah portion, and they're always different. And that's because there's always a sense at Jewish gateways that while we're keeping with some traditions and things that work well, we're also changing. And I find that really to be dynamic. So how can you support Jewish gateways? Of course, it costs money to run services and programs and to support the professionals who do the work needed. And Jewish Gateways relies almost entirely on donations. The high holiday services are always a major source of income. So actually this year, the challenge of online programming has created additional expenses and more intense work. So we ask you to give generously to keep Jewish Gateways functioning so we can provide service to you. If you donated when you signed up for services, please consider making an additional gift. Donate online or send a check, and do it as soon so you don't forget. I want to let people know, in case you're not aware, that of course we do have Yom Kippur services coming up next Sunday evening. The 27th is Erev Yom Kippur, the Kol Nidra service, and Monday is Yom Kippur Day. So for the schedule and to register, you can go online to the website. And please check out the many events and programs that we have throughout the year. I've only mentioned a few. There are many, and I have found them to be meaningful and added a great deal to my life. I want to also mention that there are children and family programs as well. All will be on our website, and look for email announcements as well. Thank you again for joining us, and Shana Tova to all from Jewish Gateways.
Thank you, Katie, and Shana Tova. It's time now for our Kaddish. I think I might have forgotten to mention that, but we will, join in Kaddish, then sing Shana Tova, and then enjoy our wine or juice and challah. So as we did with the Misha Beirach, the blessing for healing, I want to invite in just a moment everyone to be unmuted. You will be unmuted, and then to say the names of anyone you are remembering before we recite the memorial prayer, the Kaddish. So let's go ahead and do that.
Bob Moravsky,
Stephen
Hansen.
Irving Wilder.
Hyman Goodman, Anthony Reisman,
Ona Domo.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Bader Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Les Whitlow.
Helena Moroshins. Luke Dolan.
Italy Gossip.
Irving Wilder.
John,
And Debbie Nichols.
My mother Janet. Your mother Janet and RBJ.
There are too many people talking at the same time.
John Mount, Mark Mount,
oh yeah.
Not now, but if you press the side.
And let's go ahead and see the Kaddish prayer, and let's go ahead and join together in the Kaddish. You'll see that there are words in bold. If you are saying Kaddish for someone, please join in the entire Kaddish. If you are not, join in the words in bold, because the Kaddish is meant to be said in a group, and a major reason is so that we hear responses and we know we are not alone. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah.
Rabba.
Amen.
Ba'alma
Mama.
Chirute. Yamlich Malchute.
Kote.
V'chayecho
Brianon.
u'v'yomecho u'v'chaye Yechol
Ko.
Israel.
Bel.
Bagalam
Bagala.
Man Kariv V'imru. Amen.
Amen. Yehi. Shemech
Yehi
Rabba
Shemei
mevarach.
Rabba
Le'olam,
Lemaya
Almaya.
Yeah.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shmei dekudasha brichu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
May the source of peace send comfort to all who mourn in Zion, Jerusalem, and throughout the world.
Amen.
It is time to sing Happy New Year to one another. Let's join in.
Along with the Jewish Gateways Tabernacle Choir.
L'shana tova tikatemu, l'shana tova tikatemu, tikatemu, v'tikatemu, l'shana tova tikatemu, l'shana tova tikatemu. Tikatemu, v'tikatemu.
Shana Tova, time for our final shofar blast. And then the next one we'll hear will be at the end of Yom Kippur. So I invite Suzanne to go ahead and blast. Yesher Koach.
Koach.
I'm even more awake.
Glad to wake you all up.
Thank you,
Auditory
Suzanne.
caffeine.
Suzanne, that is awesome.
It was. Time for our blessings over wine or juice and challah or whatever it is everybody has. So get out whatever you have, and we're going to visit a few homes, and then we're going to have our food and drink together. So first we're going to visit Terry and Bill. Hello there. Looks like you have cake. Do you have a cake too?
Honey cake.
Oh, yum,
Lovely.
yum.
You guys are all
Beautiful. Okay, who baked them? Terry, did you bake them? Yeah. Terry is the star baker.
I helped. I brought the flour into the house.
That's good. That's good.
We definitely need to have a
Wonderful.
bake-off. How many bakers have we seen so far? Ezra and Rhea last night, Scott and Katie. Other folks baked last night, and okay. After the pandemic, Jewish Gateways Bake-Off.
Right. Thank you, Terry and Bill, for inviting us in.
Thank
And
you.
now we're going to go visit Tara. Hello there. Anything you want to say, Tara, before we enjoy our wine or juice and our bread?
I'm not very good with this Zoom stuff, so.
No
But it's all
problem.
here.
No problem.
You're
So
here.
in just a moment, we'll do a l'chaim with you, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now we're going to go visit Sandy and Catherine. Hello.
Hello.
Anything you want to say to us, Sandy and Catherine?
This is our challah, our raisin challah.
And this is a cap. This is my parents' Kiddush cap that they bought in Poland, took with them to France, and when they passed, I brought it here. So it's a part of my life. So this is to share, and that's
a very precious cup. That's
lift up the challah. Let us see your challah.
It's round, like it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it is not home baked. Sorry.
That's okay. We don't all get into baking. But we all
Bridget,
get into
Rabbi Bridget, why is it supposed to be round?
Yeah.
Like that, spiralized.
It symbolizes the cycle of years, which both goes around, but also can rise up. Because, you know, we want to rise each year. So it's not only a spiral, it's also sort of a crown. So it's both. Thanks for asking, Marcy. And now we're going to visit one more home, Bonnie. Oh my gosh, look at those beautiful flowers. Wow. We can't hear you, Bonnie.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Bonnie, unmute yourself. There you go. You're unmuted now.
I'm unmuted?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, my challah came out of funny shape, so I cut it.
All good.
And I have my Manischewitz.
Yes. As someone used to say, Manischewitz, Shabbat in a bottle.
Yeah.
Right now it's Rosh Hashanah in a bottle as well. Thank you for letting us visit, Bonnie.
Okay, thank you.
So let's raise our cups of whatever we have and join in together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
And for our challah, I'm going to actually ask our tech folks to take down our slide, even though the blessing is there. We have a tradition at Jewish Gateways of getting on the challah train. So if there's somebody there with you, you can touch them. And in addition, whether or not there's anyone there with you, there is someone there with you because we are with you. So please reach out to get on the challah train, and then Joel will lead us.
Give you about 15 seconds for that. Okay, all the cars hooked up. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Amen.
Yavon. Shana tova.
Yum.
May this be a good and sweet year.
May this be a much better year for so many people.
Full of good trouble, to quote John Lewis of blessed memory. And by the way, Christina has very helpfully posted the Support Jewish Gateways link in the chat. Thank you, Christine.
So in just a moment, I'm going to invite everyone who would like to stay around. We have lots of group facilitators who have volunteered to be in a small group to just give you a chance to meet new people or say hello to people you already know, share any thoughts you have about anything that's coming up for you from the service or your hopes for the new year. Just chat a little. And so anybody who would like to do that, just stay here and our tech folks will move you into a small group. You could just hang out for a brief time and say hello so we don't miss on being friendly with each other like we normally would walk out from the service and do. We can do it right here. Anyone who doesn't want to join us for that, you can just go on your way whenever you'd like. And I will send out information about our Torah class on the Yom Kippur Torah portion this Wednesday, and information on other activities. And as Katie said, thank you so much to all the people who helped put this together. It's so great to be with you. So Shana Tova. I will see some of you at Yom Kippur, and in just a moment, I'll see a few people in a small group. Feel free to unmute and say Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Tova, everybody.
Nice spirits.
Bye.
Hi, Gina.
Oh.
Really? No. I wish she's still so good, Lindsay. She's being patient still.
Why am I?
Okay, so mommy's gonna handle this because I'm gonna just.
You're doing weird.
You asked
Let's go off to our breakout groups. Anyone who'd like to?